First and foremost, how are you and how are your mother?
Could be better. I'm after breaking out in shingles with the stress yesterday. So.
And how's your mum holding out?
Mum is grand. She was here. Johnny was saying to her to go to a solicitor, and she rang 3 solicitors, but they didn't want to take the case on. You have to show proof that you own the goods, and they want receipts and they want pictures. But sure, the pictures at Christmas and all of that is on the laptop that they've taken.
So they've stolen the proof?
Yeah. You know, like I have all, on the memory stick.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't have anything, that they've taken everything, so. My Facebook pictures at Christmas will show the cabinet and the chairs where she's sitting at them. But my website has the table and chairs on it.
Well, exactly. Well, then they can be extracted from the website if they're still up on your Facebook, Weldon, if you can log in from another computer.
Yeah.
So that should be possible.
The one solicitor that I rang today in town said that you can't go huffing and puffing to the sheriff, that they're entitled to break into your house if they have a seizure warrant. I said, no, they're not.
Absolutely, they're not.
They are. So he said they are, so.
Well, I'd have asked him to say, you write that down on a piece of paper and you sign it.
Yeah. I said they got a locksmith. I said they were advised I wasn't here. And I said they broke into my home. And I said a locksmith, broke into my home, not the sheriff.
Correct.
And I said nobody, in amongst all of them was the sheriff of Dublin. How do you know? Because I know for a fact, I said they're all bailiffs. I said they are not the sheriff that was here. Because I said the sheriff is a big fat person that drives a motorbike. I said, and he wasn't here yesterday.
Oh, I think that guy is after retiring, to be honest.
No, he's still there.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, his motorbike is parked outside of it. I've confirmed that today outside Temple Bar. And James Barry he doesn't have a law degree, but he's a trained accountant.
Right.
His accountancy firm went bust and he owed revenue money. And the revenue commissioners went after him and he's in as the city sheriff, the collection officer.
Wow.
So there's a little bit of information. So it's amazing how you owe revenue money and you end up getting a job of the person that collects it.
You couldn't make it up if you tried, Weldon.
No. But that's James C. Barry. Oh, that was that. But,
how many solicitors did you contact, roughly?
We've rang, Mummy, how many have you used? She rang J.C. Brown and Company to discover that the chap that she dealt with a couple of months ago on a personal matter is dead. He's 42, he passed away. So she was in shock over that. Then she rang Niall Core and Company and spoke to Suzanne there. And they said that she would be best off going up to Free Legal Aid Centre on a Thursday night, which the goods will be sold and gone, be the time the dog is here. And then I rang up Shannon's in Swords and the nearest appointment was next week. The minute they hear the sheriff, nobody wants to get involved.
No, they're afraid.
Yeah. And then who was it a bank? And I said, no, actually it was, I said, I was suing a solicitor for negligence. And I said, well, I had a heart attack. The solicitor on record failed to attend the court. And I said, the firm of Terence Lyons and Company and his widow got an order against me for costs under Section 54 of the Superior Court Act. I said, then they kept it and they sent it to the solicitor that was on record and he didn't send it to me, so I couldn't appeal it to the Supreme Court within 14 days. And he said, well, you'd hardly appeal that sum of money to the Supreme Court. I said, I would, because it was wrong.
Absolutely. I mean,
I was thinking last night, I didn't sleep all last night, I was actually thinking of making an ex parte application to the Master or the President of the High Court as a lay litigant for a judicial review of the order. Because if it's not a valid order, if it's a bad order, and I'm just trying to think of case law, right?
Mm-hmm.
That if I got in and made an ex parte application where you don't have to put them on notice and get trial de novo on it again, right?
Yes.
And say that I want to have the case reopened under judicial review, that still keeps it in the High Court. But it means then that it's extinguished, so then the court order obtained was bad, right? So therefore then they have to return the goods and put up a bad order.
Yeah.
See, I have another one coming down the line for 60-something thousand for Bank of Ireland that they put a stay on for a year. The same sheriff.
Okay, but yeah, no, let's just stick with what we have in front of us at the moment.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to find out precisely, Weldon, just on the timeline of the events that transpired yesterday, were they in the process of removing furniture when your mother came home, or had they finished their removals?
No, they were in the process of it. When you look at the camera, the possession, they all pulled into the driveway at 11:55.
Uh-huh.
They made contact with me on the phone by text, which is threatening you because you're after doing your doctor's appointment, you're trying to get your machine, you're trying to stay doing a bit of work, and then you have to try and get home with all this texting, the phone calls and the texting.
Yes.
And when I didn't answer the phone number because I didn't know it, I don't answer a number unless I know it. And if it's private, I don't answer it. And then they rang me off another mobile, which is the sheriff. The two of them. And then when I looked at the video last night, because I didn't sleep all night, so I watched it, and there's items of furniture on the list that they've taken out of the house that they haven't put on the list. And they took out a box that was new, but I just forget. They went through all my wardrobes, through my suits, through my briefcases, which has the Supreme Court appeal that I lost, and the High Court appeal. So they went through all that. All my briefcases were opened. The drawers where I keep my passport and my ID for work and all the letters, They went through all that, but there was €500 in a lodgement, that covers wages and different things. And I was told to have a bailiff fee that when he came the last time. So Mum gave me 2 weeks of her pension a couple of weeks ago. And I kept it in an envelope, right? But they never took that. But that was just, I hadn't spent it, although I could have done with it to pay a gas bill or whatever, But I was told keep the 500 and offer it to them when they knocked at the door if I was here in my home. And I said, no, I don't have it. See, I went into the sheriff a couple of weeks ago, right, to make an appointment, and he refused to see me.
Into Found Street?
Yeah, in the Red Door. And I spoke to the girl, and she rang up, and she said that he was out at a repossession. And they wouldn't see me. You see, I'm told Thomas Gray Sr. originally came from Ballybock, okay? Mm-hmm. Thomas Jr. Likes the pints, okay? And he drinks some Northern Finglas sometimes. He lives in County Meath. He has a property in Portugal. He has a Porsche. And they all have shares in racehorses. Right?
Okay.
And he has a yacht. And they go around extorting. When I told him on the phone a couple of weeks ago, and he rang me, it's a good couple of months ago, he rang me to extort money out of me, for the bank, where I knew I had to stay on it, right? Mm-hmm. I said, you're trying to threaten, I said, an extortion, I said, on me, I said, of money. I'm not paying it. I said, the Bank of Ireland has pulled it for a year on medical evidence because Lyons Dermody went into the High Court and got all the stuff against me within a matter of weeks before I even got time to read it. While I had surgery, I wasn't compass mentis. Mm-hmm. And they got in all this stuff. And they rolled in, I had an overdraft, I had a term loan, and I had Mum's current account. They all rolled it all into one big lump sum and turned it into a debt of 60,000 in the High Court.
Oh, they combined it?
Yeah.
I see.
I didn't. But, instead of, I was told by a barrister, right, friend of mine that I knew, mm-hmm. and he's actually facing criminal charges at the moment, so he's not practicing. He's after taking a nervous breakdown. Right. So he was in the criminal court all last week, so he's been sentenced next month. And the barrister that was texting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he said to me that they couldn't combine. You have to be sued individually for each loan. And what they done was they brought it into the High Court for bigger fees, and that's Lyons Dermody. That's what they do. He said, and that's what Ivor Fitzpatrick does. you know, when my car was repossessed, on a Monday, I was told by the permanent, I'll talk to you on Wednesday, because you've kept your agreement. You know, then they denied that I had an agreement, but it was a verbal agreement of paying X amount every month.
Yeah.
And they kept me with my car. We sent a repossessions truck on the Wednesday. And the same thing that happened yesterday, I was carted in and spent the night in intensive care in the cardiac unit in Beaumont again, where they went in and they done another angiogram on me where the stent they thought had blocked, where I took a heart attack in the hallway after. Well, when the car was going up in the tow truck, this is what happened.
How long ago was that, Weldon?
Last April. A year ago.
Right.
So they're suing me for 90,000 plus costs, and the car was sold for 12 to a member of the permanent TSB management.
Can I ask you, Weldon, did you actually have an actual heart attack yesterday, or how did they describe it?
I have uncontrolled angina, which could lead to a heart attack. So what had happened was I went into cardiac defibrillation, where the heart stopped, and then it starts to kick in itself.
Okay, well, would the average Joe call that a heart attack?
Yeah.
Right.
It would. And now I have shingles from the stress of it yesterday. So, what you may call it, you see, when I rang the Gardaí, when I came in at, it was about 1:45, 10 to 2, right?
Yeah.
And my brother-in-law said to me, there's not much gone. So Vincent, there was half of my life gone. Well, there was my livelihood, my ability to pay bills, to pay my VHI premium. I can't take in anybody to do B&B because I have no table. I have the crockery. I have the facilities to cook, but I don't have the ability for them to sit down and eat off. Right?
Yeah.
My mum is 76, so the television and the DVD, you know, with the big, you know, the way you have the big buttons on it.
Yeah.
That's, you know, she sits in the kitchen. That's gone. So her use and enjoyment of the home under the Constitution, that was removed from her. Right? And nothing in the house is on HP because I've worked very hard with my 7 years flying in British Midland and 12 years working as a welfare officer. Right?
Yeah.
And I was off pay for the last 2 years. If I was on pay and my business was running okay, I wouldn't be in this position. But the downward company where the Bank of Ireland pulled the plug and took our overdraft off us, and the courts of Ireland repossessed the property off me that they sold to me illegally, and the solicitor done the carriage of sale illegally, without a map, without a folio, without a contract. And I paid for the privilege, 6,500 for that, to do. I have the file, I have the cheque that I paid him, and I have what he registered. And there was no map. And then Irish Nationwide repossessed me. They locked me out. They then had me arrested Easter 4 years ago in Thomastown for the theft of 4 Adams's fireplaces out of the big Georgian house, because they said it was on my property and they seized them out of the shed.
And did they produce, I mean, look, reverse the situation, Weldon, like they are with you now.
They never produced receipts. No.
Exactly, you see.
And they never produced anything, and I didn't.
So they'll believe them, but they won't believe you.
Exactly.
Which, of course, is not justice.
I said, why would I rob fireplaces from a Georgian house that belonged to my sister? I said, when I live here. I said, why are you arresting me off my own property? Because 2 thugs from Dublin is representing the Irish Nationwide as security officials. And I said, I'm up, I said, to inspect my property. And I said, you are arresting me from my land, I said, on my property. And that's what they done on an Easter Saturday. I was taken to Thomastown Guard Station. Then when the sergeant said, well, what are you here for? I said, you said I was arrested, but you wouldn't put me in the car. And you asked me to come down and follow you. You know?
Uh-huh.
So I drove down. And I said, am I free to go? And he said, no, we just have to interview you. I said, interview me for what? He said, for the Adams's fireplaces. I said, there was no Adams's fireplaces in that house. I said, there were Kilkenny marble black slate at the end, I said. And I said, they are out up there in the shed because I said of the flood. I said, and the doing up of the room.
So you mean they were still present on the property?
Yeah. And then they locked me out. They put all big padlocks on the sheds and big padlocks on the house. I'll show you the pictures. And I went into the High Court and Justice McMenamin said there was no case. I wasn't landlocked. I wasn't locked out by the Building Society. Yes, it was their locks. The county register in Kilkenny Castle, Miss Enright, gave possession of the house back to the Building Society. And I stopped paying the mortgage. But then they struck, how much did they strike against me for that? I had to pay my sister's mortgage and my own mortgage. They put it on to pay 30, 50, 50, 30 or something. I have the judgment and all. And then I get threatened by this fella on the phone from this new Irish Resolution Bank Corporation. I said, I don't know you. I never had an account with you in my life. He said, no, you did with Irish Nationwide. I said, sure, they're gone bust. You know?
Yeah.
And the solicitor that done that was Terence Lyons and Company, who went into the Bond Secure to have an operation for blushing, and it went wrong and he died. So I had to sue then him for negligence. And I was told then in the High Court, when I finally they accepted that the map was wrong, okay?
Yeah.
Irish Nationwide accepted that they were wrong in their title and that I should have been registered with a larger parcel of land. But now that the house was repossessed of me some months ago, there was no case. And what was I in the High Court for? And the case was over within 6 minutes. Right?
Okay. And
I left the High Court. There was a judgment given against me for a percentage of the funds. Knocktover Hall and all its land and my house was sold for 150,000 by auction by Mansfield auctioneers, who was a personal friend of the Mr. Fingleton that owned Irish Nationwide, Mansfield. And he wanted Knocktover Hall off me at all times. And I had a lit pendants and I stopped it. And they let it go into rack and ruin. They wouldn't do it up. They locked the gate so I couldn't go up to my property. I couldn't do it up. I couldn't take a truck up the avenue because of trespassing. Yet in the title it said what I had, and the valuer that valued it said I bought a cottage on a small piece of land without buildings and a garage. Right? So down the country, a small piece of land can be anything from the size of my back garden to a couple of acres.
Absolutely.
But not a big field. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was my argument before the High Court. I am not a legal fraternity. I didn't do the conveyancing. I paid professional people to do it. But I was never in the High Court box to state that. The Building Society threatened me and said that I was a liar, that Bank of Scotland had sent the sheriff, and that I don't, in my affidavit, I am not a businessman, I am not a landlord, and I'm not a B&B proprietor, because the bank done a nola bona on the premises, because Mum said everything was hers. And that was filed to Bank of Scotland for 20 grand. Right?
Okay.
And I went in with that letter stating what they showed the court, where they tried to discredit me in the round hall in the High Court and say you've told lies on an affidavit. You're going to lose this case. You're not the owner of a B&B that's thriving and successful. It was. I didn't tell lies. I said, yes, I do. I own it. I said myself, my mother had a limited company called Lisbay Limited, which was fact. Okay?
Right.
And I was company secretary, so it traded at Lucy's Wild Guest House.
Uh-huh.
Right?
Sure.
So that wasn't a lie.
No.
Right? I wasn't telling lies. I did own a couple of properties that I had tenants in, so I was a landlord. That's not a lie.
No.
And I also identified myself as a community welfare officer with the House Service Executive. That wasn't a lie. Right?
Is that
At the time of taking out the mortgage, I was an airline steward. That was on the application form. But I changed occupations. You know?
Right.
In October 2000, in October 1999, when I took out the mortgage of 180,000, I was working for British Midland as a steward. And that's what they loaned me the mortgage on. So that wasn't a lie, but getting that through to a barrister and a solicitor was difficult. Then I got up into the court where it was rushed. You know the lift, the small lift in the High Court, just where the Supreme Court is?
Mm-hmm.
The door closed. I didn't see it because I was being sent from High Court 5 to High Court 2 to High Court 4. And I was running, not running, but trying to get there as fast as I could with a heart condition. And every time I got to the court, then my mobile would ring and say, no, Weldon, we've changed. Court is in such and such. And then I was told I was upstairs on the third floor at Court 23 with Justice McMenamin. And I walked in and the case had opened without me. And I said to them, the case shouldn't have opened without the plaintiff being present. I went up to my barrister and solicitor and said, hold on a minute. I said, is this my case on? He said, yeah. I said, he deliberately, delayed me getting here. And I said, this case shouldn't be running until I'm present in court. I'm the plaintiff, I'm in charge of these proceedings. They had to stand up and tell the judge that I was given wrong information. And he said, well, he's here now.
Oh, they love that line.
And the bank was grinning over at me, and Watchorn was the barrister for the bank. And he tried to discredit me. And then my barrister stood up and said, Judge, my client, I can remember the words, never took an instruction off me, but this is what she told the court. My client is a prominent, high-ranking civil servant and has guaranteed before the court today to discharge the Irish Nationwide Building Society in full settlement of all monies outstanding and owed by him and his family to the Building Society. I never took on anything to take on anyone else's mortgage. Do you understand?
Sure, he may as well have stuck the national debt on top of you as well while he was
at it. They may as well
it.
have given me the fucking troika and says, here, Weldon will pay that as well.
Yeah.
Because I went into work today and my superintendent rang me and he said, Weldon, are you all right? I said, no, I'm not. I told him and I said, the Gardaí, didn't call me. He said, did you ring the guards? And he's a countryman. I said, did I ring them? I said, they threatened me on the phone, and told me that I should pay my bills. I said, and they told me that my mother let them in. I said, she wasn't even in the house. Because the sheriff had told them that they were let in by the old lady. And that's why they didn't come, because it wasn't a criminal matter, it was a civil matter. And I was to go and seek a solicitor's opinion. And then he told me, I said, my constitutional right, has been violated. My right to privacy has been violated, I said. Could you kindly come up and take a complaint? I said, I cannot get down, I said. I'm ill. And then he kept insinuating, he kept, ringing back and hanging up and said the phone hung up, it got cut off, the phone hung up. And I said, is this being recorded, I said, on the 999 system, right?
Yes.
He said, not all calls are. I said that they should be. If you're ringing on the system, as you are stating to me, you're a guard ringing me from the control of the 999 control tower. And I firmly believe to this day, I don't know whether that was the guards. I think it was the sheriff trying to flush me out. And I said, I have CCTV camera footage that quite clearly shows that there was 5 people, that I don't know who they were. I didn't inspect their paperwork. I said, and they have stolen goods belonging to my mother from my house. They've trespassed onto the property and they've breached my privacy. Now I said, what part of the sentence do you not understand? And I said, what's your number? And he refused to give it. And Ruth was on the mobile and I said it again and I repeated it again. I've asked you for your number and he refused to give it.
Was it a case, Weldon, that they stole goods from both of the houses?
Both.
Right.
171 and 173 is 2 houses, okay?
Yeah.
And the dividing line is the fire door that you enter into my bedroom as a fire door. That is the dividing wall. That is the marking of 173 Beaumont Road. Where the dining room tables were taken out through the alternative door to the house is 173 Beaumont Road. As far as I'm concerned, I had a warrant for 171 Beaumont Road, not for 171, 173 Beaumont Road.
Right.
And the two houses are separate entities. I have separate ESB bills, separate telephone bills, separate cable bills, because they're separate entities.
Right.
But I did knock them into one another for the use and enjoyment.
I noticed on the video, after the locksmith initially went in and he came back out again.
He came back out and he
went
came back in and he opened the internal doors of my bedroom and office and the internal door of the kitchen.
So that was when he
because
broke
all
into...
those doors are locked because it is a B&B, Vincent, so
Sure.
there was two clients in. They wouldn't have access. This is considered the private area of the house. It's my dining area, which I was taught that the sheriff had to leave you with tables and chairs to have your dinner on. He left me with nothing. He left, he took away everything. I didn't have a table to sit down to eat my dinner. He took away my livelihood. He took away the laptop, which has internet access, which has emails. He has now access to my bank account details, which is permanent TSB, which there's nothing in it, but nevertheless, my codes are all there on the computer. And the encryption codes, the login details. Right. His internet access to all my private emails from people, my Facebook, because I don't have, they're automatically logged in. And the computer wasn't shut down.
If I were to ask you, Weldon, I'm...
And somebody did access my emails today.
That's what I was going to ask you. Has somebody actually accessed?
Yeah, because I have them coming to my iPhone as well, and they were opened.
Okay, so there's basically it's a violation on almost every level imaginable.
Yeah, and I was assured growing up in school, and I'm 40, that the forefathers fought in 1916 and gave us the Bill of Rights known as the Constitution of 37 that came into law the 1st of January, and that was the protection of me as a citizen of this country, as an Irishman, that my home was viable, that it was solely as an enjoyment, was guaranteed and enshrined in the Constitution, my fundamental right to privacy. Right?
Yes.
And everything yesterday, my right to a livelihood was removed from me. My right to life was almost removed from me because I sustained a serious cardiac arrest here in the house. That I was the sole bread earner yesterday of my mother that would have been rendered as homelessness because the bank would have taken the house from me because of no life cover. She would have been rendered homeless if I'd have died yesterday. And nobody would have believed what would have happened because I was here to tell the tale. And that's the way I feel today. And that these brutes and bully boys are going around kicking in people's houses and taking away their worldly goods on foot of court orders that you're not even in court present for. Right? And the judiciary are playing a big part in this. And a letter was sent in to the Minister for Justice who refused to see me, to advise me how to overturn a bad court order. And he has that power. He has that power to pardon anyone in a prison. He has the power to pardon anybody that feels that they've been unjustified and inhumanely treated at the foot of a court order. He has that power, and he refused to see me.
Which, of
and the
course,
sheriff was put on notice in April of 2012 with 2 medical reports that I was severely ill, not to harass me. I told him not to come to my property and to revert the order that he was given back to the solicitors, that they have the power to bring me before the courts for an examination of means, which was done, and I was examined to have the means of €5 by Justice Malone in the District Court a couple of months ago. That's what was examined of means to me. Because they wanted 300 a week off a bill. And she wanted to reduce it down to 50. And I said to her, I can't afford 50, I'll give you a £5. She said, well, could 40? I said, I haven't got 40. there's no point in wasting your time or my time. I said, I can only give you a fiver.
So that was your official offer?
Yeah, and then she kept saying, she said, but could you afford 30? I said, I can't afford 30. I have told you I owe 216,000 of mortgage arrears on one house. I said, and 100 and something on another. And I said, the people won't pay me rent, and I won't put them out on the street. They're not entitled to rent allowance because I said they weren't working enough in the country. And I said, times will improve. And I said, they're minding the house, they're keeping them clean, they're keeping them serviced, and that's it. And I can't afford to pay what I'm not getting in.
So you weren't prepared to evict the people yourself?
No, I wasn't, no.
Well, fair play to you. I'm glad to hear that.
No, the bank is wanting the houses off me, but they can evict them, I'm not. Because it's children. And I know from when my mother had a corporation house, and the same sheriff that called here yesterday, his father, came to try and evict us when Mum had oh dear, was that you were in the hospital when you lost your job for your trade union badge? My mother was sacked for refusing to take off her trade union badge in '84, and she got ill, and she had no job, and she died with pension, and we went into arrears with the tenant purchase scheme with the corporation, and they were going to take the house off us, and they came to evict us and put us onto the street and take our furniture and put it out into the garden. And that was his father, Thomas Gray. And then the following week he came and took our car that she had. And my brother went out and released the chains off the tow truck. And she reversed into a Garda car. And the Garda car, in pursuit of her taking her property back from the bailiff, and they drove over my brother's leg, and he was rushed to the Richmond Hospital where he had to have emergency surgery. So I'm well used to the sheriff calling and what bully boy tactics they do and what the guards do. Were you charged with driving into their car that time? No, they forgave you or something, wasn't it? Yeah, that's what they done. Well, that's the history of the... See, Vincent, I asked a friend of mine who's a solicitor, was there anyone ever taken a constitutional challenge to the powers of the sheriff?
No.
And nobody has.
No. BC, right? The sheriff is not under it. There are no provisions in the Constitution for the sheriff.
And nobody has taken a case to curb his powers. Now, I was told by Flack in April, right, that the Free Legal Aid Centre in Gardner Street said to me, oh, the Law Reform Commission has recommended that his powers be curtailed, but it has never been implemented. That's where I got onto the Minister for Justice, thinking he would help me in my hour of plight and need, because that's what he takes an oath in office to do. It's to look after the citizens of Ireland. And he didn't. He sent it back.
You see, the sheriff is an English officer, Weldon. He's not operating under Bunreath na hÉireann. He's still, sheriffs are, literally, you're talking to Sheriff of Nottingham, the Crown.
Right.
Unfortunately, a lot of people don't understand that Ireland, although it was independent, that doesn't mean all ties were severed with the Crown.
Yeah.
I think someone at your door there.
I just want to check that. No, I just want to check the camera. Oh, I don't know who that is. Let's check my glasses. Was it him that knocked earlier on? It was. Yeah, somebody keeps banging at the door here all day.
Do you know who it is?
No.
Is it a man or a woman, or?
That's a man.
Has he got papers in his hand?
No, but he could have them up his jumper, because that was tried on me before.
Yeah.
I just don't, The bank was trying to, now he's going to knock at the glass. I just don't open the door.
He might be a guard or something.
Yeah. Yeah. He's looking in the window now. Yeah.
Well, they shouldn't be looking in the window. That's an invasion of your privacy.
Yeah, and I don't know who he is anyway, but Mum said that we're here knocking and banging all day today on it. Then I looked at a video yesterday where the sheriff came down the side entrance and looked up the wall. You know, which it's 173 Lomond Road. What do you think, like, the one firm solicitor said, oh, your mother has to prove she owns the furniture and photographs and receipts. And I said, she wouldn't have receipts for everything. 76. You know, they're hers. I'm telling you, they're hers. They're not mine. Now he's overlooking at the car.
Has he got a car outside, or can you see his vehicle belong to him?
Yes. It's in the middle of the driveway.
Can you see the registration plate?
No. Where the fuck is he going to now? Now he's gone around the other side of the house.
What's the make and model of the car, Weldon, do you know?
It's a van. You know, like a car, like a back out windows on it.
Right. Is it like a Jeep type of a thing, or?
Yeah, like a Jeep people carrier. Around out a Galaxy or something, Ford Galaxy. Now he's on the phone.
Yeah, I think that's probably.
Bang, bang.
I think that's probably a sheriff.
That's what I think.
Is he?
Go out and open the door.
It's probably Fitzpatrick.
What do you think? His glasses.
I think that might be Fitzpatrick.
And what would he be here for today?
He's county sheriff.
Right. Go out and open it to see who he is. Hold on a second, I'll go out.
Ask through the door maybe, but I wouldn't go out opening the door.
Yeah. 2 seconds. And time to fuck off. None of the. Oh, it's an English car. Yes. None of the. An English van, anyway. But he went to the other door, which that I don't normally. Yeah, none of the anyway, but it's not nobody that we should have anyway. But they said to have photographs. Am I taking up your time now?
No, absolutely not.
But photographs and proof of ownership of them. I said, I'm telling you their mums. I said, my mother, I said, is, you know, a dependent on me solely and has been for the last 20 years. And I said, I'm her agent for her pension. And I said, I pay her VHI, I said, and I look after her daily needs and her general practitioner's needs and her doctor needs. I said, she's critically ill. And I said, they could have killed my mother yesterday. I said, she has a defibrillator and 2 artificial valves in her heart. And I said, the stress and trauma of it, I said, my mother couldn't breathe. And I said, a chair that they were taken, she sat down on. And I said, that's what saved the chair in the hall, because she wouldn't get up off it. She kept telling me that it was all hers, which it was, because that chair was recovered because it belonged to my grandmother.
Do you mean they actually took your mother off the chair and took it?
They wanted the chair and she wouldn't get up off it because it was my grandmother's.
Right, that was the chair that we saw in the hallway.
Yeah. And I got that recovered and she didn't like the material I got it done in.
Right.
Right, it was originally copper, you know, with a gold thread going through it. And it was threadbare because it was so old. And I kept it because it's a high chair for her to sit in.
Uh-huh.
And I usually put the Christmas tree to the left of it and she sits there and I take a picture. I know this sounds funny, but I take a Christmas picture of her every year because it's a celebration that she's alive for that Christmas.
Right.
Because she has a defib and she's been in through the intensive care unit and resuscitated half a dozen times. And then I never drank and I never smoked and I inherited the family heart condition. My aunt I buried on the 7th of March when the sheriff was harassing here, I was in Luton when my aunt died. And I said, I contacted me because I said I buried my only surviving aunt. I said in Luton. I said the crematorium. And I said, I'm in mourning and I'm not in a position to take or deal with your harassment today. But according to two solicitors today, they can break into your house and that's it. They have a court order.
No, they're wrong.
So I want to know, can I go in? Is there anyone has ever taken a challenge to protection of their constitutional right? Like if you look at the cases of the right to life, the X case, and the right to this, and the right to that, and the right to the other, has anyone challenged privacy? Define privacy and what's, I don't know what article. I know it's in.
I'll be honest, Sheldon, Weldon, sorry. I think going at that angle, I can't see any solicitor even attempting to go near that. They would be scared, literally scared shitless to even touch that.
Yeah.
That would go right to their core. I'll be honest with you, they probably know at some level instinctively that the sheriff is the highest officer. I mean, I know a chap and the sheriff had broken into his house. He'd called the guards. He just told them that there was a man that they're breaking in, didn't identify himself. And when the Gardaí arrived, the Gardaí didn't know really what to do, and they eventually said to the sheriff, well, look, maybe we better arrest you and take you in just to be on the safe side type of thing, and, we'll sort all this out later. We let a judge decide, and the sheriff told the guards in front of this man that he had more power than any judge. And that stopped the two guards in their tracks.
Okay.
Now, how could a sheriff have more power than any judge on this land?
Yeah.
You see, there's a whole other aspect to this that unfortunately most people don't know about. Now, this is part of what we have been uncovering on TNS, and myself and Ben and Johnny and all the lads here. We've been reading this material and we've been examining it from a perspective that the so-called Law Society and the Bar Council of Ireland, they won't look at this. They won't even mention it. But we're on TNS shouting about it, literally.
Yeah.
People don't know. And it's only as we hear of situations like your own situation, which is absolutely a disgrace. This is when this comes to light. Now you see, just so you know, I mean, I won't use this, but I mean, I do have an automatic recording thing on my computer here. When calls come through the computer, it automatically records. Just so you know, I won't use it if you don't want me to. But, I mean, you've said so much to me here today. If you want, I will delete it now if you want me to. But, as I said, I wouldn't use it without your permission because I don't believe that's right, Weldon.
But what I'm saying is that when the Gardaí were called on the 999 call yesterday, they failed to come.
They're not supposed to do that. That's a big no-no. When they get a 999, they're supposed to just come. In other words, if you dial 999, say, hello, I need a guards here now, 171 Beaumont Road, click. They really have no option but to show up.
And they didn't.
Yeah.
And the guard told me that they refused, he wouldn't be sending a car. And I said, yes, you will. He said, no, I won't. I said, yes, you will. And he said, you should pay your bills and then you wouldn't be in this state.
Wow.
And that he denied ever saying to me. He said he never said it. I said, you did. I heard you. I said, you don't know who you're talking to. Right?
Yeah.
He said, I do. He said, the man of the house. I said, I didn't say I was the man of the house. I said, I gave you my name. I said, which is more than you've given me. You haven't even given me your number. I said, which you're compelled to do. I said, you're in the guard, as she called it, to uphold my rights, I said, and protect me. And I said, you didn't do that. And I said, a 76-year-old woman telephoned in a distress call to you to say that there was people taking her furniture. They didn't show any ID. They didn't show a court order to her.
Well, they
They
broke
told
in.
her to get in and mind her business. I said, I have it here on CCTV camera. I said, all of it. I said, she confronts them in the garden when she comes into the driveway. I said, so where was she to let in this people? I said, that you were saying as the sheriff. I said, I'm asking you. I said, how do you know? You weren't here. You're in a control centre taking calls. I said, were you here? He said, no. So then I said, how do you know she let them in? Who told you? He said, she let them in. I said, she wasn't here. I said, she comes across the driveway. I said, at 12:26. I said, they were 20 minutes rifling and pilfering my home and taking out belongings belonging to her and trespassing into 173 and opened the front door of 173 and took out 12 chairs. I said, 3 tables out there. They took out, even when it wasn't on the list, a small little Philips stereo, you know, with a DVD in it, and a shelf unit that it was on. I said, they all went up through all the bedrooms, I said. All the doors of the bedrooms were open. I said, so how did they get in? I said, they're locksmiths. I said, who is he? What was his name? What company is he from? Who employed him? I didn't employ him. I have my keys to my house. Mum has her keys. I didn't need a locksmith. I didn't ask for a locksmith.
And what was his response?
He was never here. You see, when the locksmith let them in the front door,
Yeah.
when he let them in the front door, when he broke in the front door through the letterbox with his monkey bar, whatever it's called,
Yeah.
they were all trying to handle and they were going to kick the door at one point. If you look at the closed-circuit television camera, they were pressing on the door.
Yeah.
They then came with a metal object and to slide it in at the lock, and it didn't open the door. So he went then back out to his van, which was not the vans of the sheriff. It was a locksmith van, which was over on the right-hand side of the house as you look out.
Mm-hmm.
He came back in and he put it in through the letterbox. He opened the door. He didn't step back and let the sheriff enter. He was the first person into my home.
Yes.
Right? All of them then marched in. The young thug with the hoodie, young fella. They were all in, and the sheriff and his brother, Paul and Thomas Gray, I presume. Right?
Okay.
They then were in the house for approximately 3 to 4 minutes, and the first 2 items that came out were the 2 chairs that's in the hallway that's on the website of the B&B. The mirror then came out with them, and the 2 tables that's valued at €1,000 out of Ireland. Right, salvia lamp tables, they came out with 2 lamps and a lamp that my sister gave my mother for her 50th birthday. Mum is 76, the green lamp with the silk shade, right?
Yeah.
With hand-painted flowers on it. That was taken out. That was put on and loaded into the van. So that's where they started. Then they went into the marble column. They opened up that where there's a visitor's book where people sign in. They were reading the visitor's book. Now, they weren't going to get any money of a visitor's book.
Hardly.
Right? But then they took off the mirrors off the wall and the pictures off the wall. Then the locksmith came out and he got another little box and he entered in and he opened up the internal kitchen door, which is locked. And he opened up the bedroom door, that's my bedroom and office and ensuite, where the cameras are. And they went through the wardrobes and they went through the tall boy. And they took the laptop, which was on the footstool of the reclining chair, which was open, you know, on pages that I had been on.
Mm-hmm.
So they had instant access to all legal affairs, all correspondence to people, all private email.
I mean, it's a complete invasion of privacy. You know, I mean, I don't think anybody, Weldon, would think of that in any other way. It's actually...
Well, like, you know, if I was going in, right, in the course of my duty, okay, when I'm at work, in my capacity, I knock at a doorbell, and in all modern houses now, you can't lock a door because you can press down on a handle, particularly on wooden doors around housing estates, right? If I was to go in and do an assessment for somebody on rent allowance or a basic payment or something, and I was to do a home visit, I do not press down on somebody's door to say, oh, well, the doorbell mightn't be working, but they really need to see me, so I'll shout in at them and say, hi, it's Weldon here, because they have a right to privacy. Like I have dignity in the workplace, I have a right to be treated with respect, I have a right to not be shouted at or cursed at by a client.
Correct. Dignity.
Right? And I have a right to treat that person that's applying for a payment from me, to treat them with self-respect and dignity, and think that they're not sponging off the system if they came in, or that I'm out getting up to go to work and these people are sitting at home scratching their nabs. I have a right to treat them with compassion, dignity, and respect, because without them, I wouldn't have the job I have, because there'd be no need for me. If there was no crime, there would be no need for guards. If there was no invasion of this island of Ireland or a threat, we wouldn't have a navy protecting our shores. We wouldn't have an army protecting our people. We wouldn't have a government, because we need them to uphold law. That's all put onto us, and we must abide by all this. You know, you must do this, you must not pass go, you must stop at a red light. Because you're taught this, you're taught, right, save, you go and get a job and you save for your house and you're told, oh great, I've my own house. The state didn't give it to me because the state doesn't have houses to give all its citizens. You go out and you work and you buy one. You buy your property, you paid 50-odd thousand stamp duty. You took the privilege of having a noose around your neck from a bank that's later going to take it back off you because the property market collapses because they falsified figures and they'd no money. But they still want what they loaned you, but the house is only worth quarter, less than what because the auctioneers, the bankers, and the government overinflated the price of the property. And they kept telling people, go, buy. You know, people get ill, people lose their jobs, people don't stay up on their 2 feet, they hit hardship. And that's what you see.
If I asked you, Weldon, to tell me whose feet do you think this all firmly lies at, what would you say?
Whose feet that is all lies at.
Do you blame, where would you say the responsibility for this situation?
The responsibility for what was caused to me yesterday was given by the hands of a High Court judge in my absence. He or she gave a High Court order of costs against me, that I was suing a firm of solicitors for negligence. He knowingly knew that there was a problem. He knowingly read the papers before him. He knowingly knew that my solicitor failed to turn up. That was also negligent. The plaintiff that was so vigorous in taking this firm to court was not in court. What was the problem? Was the client that was taking the case, was he dead? Was he alive? Was he in a different court? Because a solicitor and a barrister isn't here. So would it not have been prudent to adjourn the case? Get the firm of solicitors I was suing to write to me personally and to write to the firm of solicitors and put me on notice of 14 days to appear before him, right? As to why he was going to dismiss the case.
Yeah.
If I wasn't there. Instead, he took the easier option because he was probably wanting around to golf in the K Club or to go off to have lunch in the Four Seasons. Because he wasn't worried, because it wasn't affecting him. It was affecting me. And he was good. He was part of the cover-up and part of the mistake that I was in to try and have rectified. He was adding to the mistake and covering it up because it's a club. That's where the problem started. Then to threaten you, instead of going into the district court because the sum was only 8,000 and odd, or going into the circuit court and getting an instalment order against you, which can be done in the district court at a low fee, they decided to go with a High Court writ and lodge it directly with the sheriff. So it gave me, again, a hands-tied situation. I had no legal entity. I had no locus standi before the court, right? I couldn't appeal it because it was obtained in the High Court. It would have been the Supreme Court that I would have had to go to have the order extinguished. And they could have been, the firm of Terence Lyons and Company, trading as Vincent Crowley, could have placed the debt that was struck against me to the district court for an instalment order to be given against me. They didn't do that. They went for the one lump sum and lodged it directly with the sheriff. So I then became in breach of a court order. So they criminalised me for not paying something that I wasn't even party to. They then lodged it with the sheriff to come and seize what I had always worked hard for. My mother has worked 3 jobs that reared 7 of us as a widow. And they come and steal from her personal and lifelong possessions. And in stealing from her and taking all her personal belongings and then treating her like a piece of dirt. When she comes back from her walk with her West Highland Terrier and tell her to get in and mind her own business and continue to push past her and take out her lamp that she was given for Mother's Day present on her 50th birthday. That's hard to take. It's hard to take when you look back at almost 53 minutes of footage on a closed-circuit television camera where people can enter your home forcibly, come in like the high cavalry, reverse in onto your property, bring a state of slander to your good name and your standing in society. And these thugs can come in and break into your house, and the law of this land, the Garda Síochána, don't even come when a 76-year-old woman rings a 999 call.
Was it your mother that made the first 999 call, Weldon?
Yeah, she made the call at approximately 12:32 to 999, and she asked for the Gardaí for urgent assistance, that there was people stealing from her home.
And what did they say?
They sent a car. And at 1:47, they still weren't here when I came back. And at 3:20, I had a phone. I rang Clontarf Gardaí. I spoke to a Bang Garda, right, which will be on the telephone bill because my phone is itemised. I spoke to a Bang Garda who told me that this wasn't covered by Clontarf Gardaí. I assured her it was, because it was opposite the hospital gate. We are covered by Clontarf Gardaí. She told me I wasn't. I said I was on the Bowman Residents Association for 2 years. I assured her it was. That the opposite side of the road was Santry. Further down was Coolock. She then said she'd send a car. She couldn't understand how it wasn't actioned. She put in another call. I got a phone call at 20 minutes to 3 from an arrogant, antagonistic member of Garda Síochána who was young, who announced himself to be a member of the Gardaí in the control centre, and that told me that he wouldn't be sending a car, that the matter was closed. And I said, well, who came to see the event, or who closed it? Because nobody has come. We're waiting here, waiting patiently for your assistance to take a complaint of trespass and theft from the house. And he said they could do it. So I said to him, I have a constitutional right, and he told me to park the Constitution and look up law. And the law is that the sheriff can break into your house, steal from you, take everything, and you can't do anything about it.
Were they the exact words, Weldon, of the guard?
They were the words of the guard, and he told me, again, Vincent, he said, if you paid your bills, you wouldn't be in this problem. And I was speaking to a friend on the mobile phone, and I repeated word for word what he said, and she could hear it. And he said it again, and he then hung up. And then he rang back and